Hi everyone. I said that I was going to address the Epstein files tonight. I am going to address a portion of them. What I'm going to start with first is a file called FTA 000080475.pdf. Okay, so this is the first file I'm going to start with tonight, and this was the file that I really wanted to get into in particular. There are a lot of redactions here, which leads me to believe that whoever has made this claim are most likely telling the truth about what's going on, because there's a lot of redactions here. Okay, so let's begin. Redacted, like there's a lot of names here. Okay, so redacted is one name. Then there's a list of names redacted, and her husband redacted are leaders of a prostitution and child molesting and sex trafficking syndicate known as the Ashley Madison Network. A large majority of the funding for said network is held in the accounts of capital investors and property they have acquired. Much of the property is used to house people with radio transmitters. These transmitters send a signal of radio frequency, audio, and video that are used to make people receive the signal in a way that interferes with their central nervous system. Barry Trower talked about this during my interview with him. These transmitter people use extensive conditioning techniques to make people experience tactile, auditory, and visual hallucinations. It is used extensively to molest children. These transmitters are often readily visible from the street as satellite dishes. Between the radio signal that is recorded of a person near a transceiver and the conditioning, people who hear the transmission begin to experience sensations similar to the person who made the recording. This ham radio technique makes it seem as though people are hearing voices and feeling these other hallucinations that often resemble sexual interactions with other people. This technology is what was used to communicate to and harass Jeffrey Epstein while in prison. Driving people to commit suicide is a common practice with these transmitters. They also frequently attempt to replicate break-ins and home invasions. For some reason, people who have them meddle in the lives of others and attempt to cause as much harm as possible. Okay, so first of all, I've got to address Jeffrey Epstein, right? A lot of people are now saying that they don't believe Jeffrey Epstein is dead. Now, it could be that he truly is alive and he truly is in hiding. Knowing these fucking people, that motherfucker is both dead and alive at the same time. Knowing them. But this is what I personally believe. I personally believe that people are saying that Jeffrey Epstein isn't dead because it's a deliberate cover-up for what everybody is talking about with the Ashley Madison Network. Like, next to nobody has talked about radio frequencies or electromagnetic frequencies or anything like that. Next to nobody has talked about any of these things except targeted individuals. So I believe that Jeffrey Epstein, like this belief that he's still alive, I essentially believe that that's probably a cover for everything that is being talked about here, because there's a lot of redactions in this very short document. There's a lot of redactions here. Let me continue. As for the radio techniques, I've talked about voice to skull. I've talked about the fact that, like, usually during my sleep, there's a lot of voice to skull. There's people yelling my name, mispronouncing my name, calling me racial slurs. You know, just saying stupid shit, like, through these radio transmission frequencies, right? Radio frequency transmissions. So, like, there have been, like, voices and stuff that I've heard, but again, I didn't want to talk about them until I had the room to talk about them. This is giving me the room to talk about them. And also with the sexual sensations, I reported for years that I had been feeling such sensations of molestation in my body. I'm not the only one. There are other people who have felt that. So it's not a unique experience to me. Like, none of this is a unique experience that this person is talking about. So that has that has definitely happened. And the one thing that really upsets upsets me is the use of it on children. Was what really upset me, because when I first heard about this, I literally had a panic attack. Because why the fuck is this being done to children? It's fucking disgusting. Why is this being done to children? On top of everything else we know, this was just like, nah, I had to say something, because this is fucking disgusting. But it's part of a network called the Ashley Madison Network. I don't think it's the only one of its kind, by the way. I think there are other networks like it. So let me continue. Capital firms and private capital corporations hold most of the funds that are used by this system. Redacted from Redacted has been involved for many years. He allegedly approves the lending of capital he knows should not be approved from Redacted, and he has directed other employees to participate in fraudulent transfers that facilitate the illicit movement of capital. The entire Redacted family is involved. Redacted has been molesting children using the radio and using the associated network of child molesters for decades. Almost all of the family's wealth is derived from this network. They have recently amassed tens of millions of dollars of real estate in recent months from transactions with other beneficiaries. Their children, Redacted, are also involved. Redacted used to live in the transmitter apartment next door to mine. I saw her in it having a meeting with Redacted, the owner, and other people involved in the Redacted group of the National Ashley Madison Sex Trafficking Network. The Redacted family coordinated groups from all over the country to converge in NYC over the last 2 years. I saw Redacted husband, Redacted, entering that apartment in August 2019, even though he is not now, nor has he ever been, the tenant. I also saw Redacted and her paramour, there's a name underneath there, but I can't make it out, enter the same apartment when Redacted, aka Redacted, was the tenant in 2018. Eric and his brother are transmitter people, and that apartment is used for transmitting and for prostitution. The current resident, Redacted, also transmits from that apartment. The neighbor across the hall, Redacted, also transmits from his apartment. The owner of that apartment, Redacted, also has knowledge of the situation and transmits from his other apartment. This is one of the reasons why they don't like to have TIs homeless. A lot of people say, oh, you know, they like to leave TIs homeless and this, that, and the third. Well, maybe in America, because the perps over there are not subtle. They delight in their cruelty and they don't hold back in their cruelty. Over here in the UK, they like to keep things running as smoothly as possible. So, you know, even though there have been homeless TIs, some of them homeless by choice, others through circumstance, they prefer TIs to be in a home, you know, because that way, radio transmitters can be positioned in stable places rather than moved about the country constantly, rather than having to get new paperwork, rather than having to recruit new people, spend the money and time it takes to recruit new people because, you know, this TI is going to be moving somewhere else. They prefer these networks like these. They like targeted individuals to remain stationary. They like us to remain stationary for a reason, because all this equipment that we're talking about, it takes a lot of energy to position somebody in a property. All of that is money, time, and energy, which is getting increasingly low. The money available for this type of network is decreasing. You can see it. You can see it in the quality of the gang stalkers. Like, the gang stalkers used to have subtlety, not anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying? And that includes that Romanian family that I used to live next door to. They used to brag about what they were doing to me. They used to use radio frequencies to violate my body repeatedly. And then they would try to maintain that it wasn't sexual because they were responding to my Twitter. They used to respond that it wasn't sexual. And I'm like, now that I look back, I'm like, you know, you bitches were fucking stupid. Because how do you fucking like molest somebody and then try to deny it? Do you know what I mean? So, you know, they're not the only ones. It used to happen in Cricklewood, where I lived in Cricklewood as well, in London. So Willesden Green, London, Romanian family used to do that. I know they were one of the addresses that used to do that. In Cricklewood, so that was done to me very, very heavily. And I used to think it was my next door neighbor doing it. Come to find out, it wasn't them doing it. It was somebody else doing it. But there were people positioned around that apartment to like molest me with radio frequencies as well. And I reported it to police, and of course they didn't take me seriously. But all the technology that they're talking about here, I've been subjected to. All of it. Now I mean, I've been chipped for fuck's sake. Got one here, got one here, got one in my forearm, I've got another one in this forearm. Most likely via injections. Now I mean, so yeah. I saw that redacted husband entering the apartment in August 2019, even though he is not now nor he has ever been the tenant. I also saw redacted and her paramour redacted enter the same apartment when redacted, aka redacted, was the tenant in 2018. Eric and his brother redacted are transmitter people, and that apartment is used for transmitting and for prostitution. The current resident, redacted, also transmits from that apartment. The neighbor across the hall, redacted, also transmits from his apartment. The owner of that apartment, redacted, also has knowledge of the situation and transmits from his other apartment. This is what I believe is behind the rumors that Jeffrey Epstein is still alive. Because there's concerted efforts by the government to conceal this. I'm not being funny, right? Even though children being cannibalized and children being sacrificed and children being raped for fucking fun, even though these things are nothing to sniff at, these things are serious, these things are crucial, these things are disgusting, and the people responsible for doing that shit, they need to be not even locked up. They need to be gone. People who are willing to do this to children need to be fucking gone. Period. But even the horrific acts that have been committed against those children, and this whole thing about Jeffrey Epstein being alive, all of that is being used as a distraction from this Havana syndrome technology. Why? Because Havana syndrome technology can reach more people. It can hurt more people in a shorter time span. That's why. The sacrifice and cannibalization and violation of handfuls of children, we can emotionally connect to that. We can emotionally connect to that. And also we understand that it's fucking vile. We understand that it's fucking vile. Of course we're going to be angry. Why shouldn't we be angry? In fact, if people weren't angry enough to detract away from this, I'd have questions about people's humanity if they weren't fucking angry about this shit. But even the worst crimes are being used to cover up for something that could literally and has been literally affecting wide masses of people. So even the plight of those poor babies, another distraction. It's fucking awful to contemplate. But when you think about the reach of something like this versus the reach of the trafficking rings involving thousands of children, the reach of this outweighs the reach of those awful crimes by a mile in terms of how many people can be hurt by it. It's an uncomfortable reality, and I hate to even fucking say it, but it's the truth. But anyway, let me read on. There are hundreds of apartments involved. The original transmitter apartment in this building is apartment 8A. It is ostensibly owned by a man named R, as in R, right? Redacted father acquired the apartment when his son was a teenager after his son's participation in the underage prostitution organization. The company that owned the apartment, redacted, had prostitutes and their relatives sign for apartments under the auspices of acting as a corporate representative. However, over time, they treated the apartments as though they were owned by the individuals. These apartments were often accumulated and transacted with by the recipients. Over time, they accumulated a huge amount of real estate and cash. Some of the proceeds are offshore, see the Panama Papers. There is a huge amount of real estate that is allegedly owned by this company that is in the hands of other people and companies. Apartment 7A has been owned by Redacted since he was 17 years old. The penthouse apartments are both involved. There are transmitter people in almost every apartment in the building. Also on the fourth floor, there is a computer containing an immense child pornography library. It is the same material that Jeffrey Epstein kept and used as compromat. If you guys don't know what compromat is, Kompromat, if you don't know what that is, it's information that is strategically gathered to blackmail, manipulate or coerce somebody with, right? Compromat is basically what keeps the powerful tied together. It's compromat. It's not genuine fellowship. It's not genuine like and concern for each other. It's compromat. Compromat is a glue that holds powerful people together. And that's what Jeffrey Epstein had via the child pornography. Okay. Many of the wealthy and well-known people that were personal associates of the late Jeffrey Epstein are still involved in the organization. Many of the problematic are wealthy aristocratic art patrons with eponymous museums. Redacted, son of Redacted, and Redacted of the Redacted manages a major portion of funding at Deutsche Bank. So we've got to sit with that for a minute. Got to sit with that for a minute. There are other files that I've downloaded. I just got to find them here. I've collected about 3 other files. And I've got to, yeah, this one has 3 pages. Let's see what else, which other ones I've got. 3 pages. 3 pages. Yeah, this is the same one. Damn. Okay. And there's yeah, I think it's Jacqueline. I don't know. I said her name already. Jacqueline Pierce is the only name that hasn't been redacted here. I'm wondering why they left her name unredacted. She might have been the one that that made the report before, but I don't know for sure. There's one that's like hundreds of pages that I have. There's one that's hundreds of pages. But I'm not going to read that one until later. I want to go through that one with a fine-tooth comb because there's a lot of information in that one. A lot of useful information. There are some like pages that repeat in that file. But that particular file has it's not 238, it's 236 pages. So I want to go through that one with a fine-tooth comb before I start talking about it. But there are a couple of other files here that I can talk about. Okay, so we've got interesting. So we've got Jacqueline Pierce who raised the alarm. And this was another letter to the United States Attorney's Office, Criminal Division. Redacted was the victim coordinator. And Jacqueline Pierce's company was redacted. Now I got questions. Why is Jacqueline Pierce not redacted, but these other files are redacted? So for clarification, This file is EFTA 0026 9376. Again, I'm going to leave numbers in the description. I say again because I've actually recorded this video already, but I had to scrap it. So I'm going to leave the names of these files in the description. You can look them up yourselves, and we will go from there. So this is another letter to the United States Attorney's Office, Criminal Division. Redacted Victim Coordinator, First Andrews Plaza, New York City, New York, 1007. Confidential Criminal Division, 10th of April 2023. Dear Redacted Victim Coordinator, I am contacting you in reference to my previous contact dated 3rd of October 2022, 2nd of November 2022, 3rd of January 2023, concerning reporting a case of criminal network targeting of a specific individual. The targeted victim, myself, Jacqueline Pierce, that occurred over a 38-year period and is still current, active and present in the year of 2023 while residing in my parents, Cynthia Pierce and David Pierce's family home. Redacted. Yeah, that must be the address. There's a big black fucking block hit. Bro, the redactions are correct. Yo. There is no way this Jacqueline Pierce woman is not telling the truth. Hold on a minute. Okay, so that video cut off. The first part cut off. So let me read that paragraph again so that you guys understand where I'm going with this. Regarding this previous contact and reporting the case of criminal network targeting and submission of documented evidence, constructed legal case files, character reference and timeline, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, the case was documented as the convicted criminal child sex offenders involved in a sexual abuse ring. Epstein and Maxwell were involved and connected to the case of criminal network targeting of a specific individual involving online via direct targeting of the specific individual, the targeted individual, Jacqueline Pierce, while residing in the location of Port Pirie, South Australia, and occurring in the period of 2006-2013, and documented evidence submitted of the email dated 21st of May 2009. Which contained the fake identity used by Epstein and Maxwell, Adam Gurgley, and was also connected to the intellectual property theft in the South Australian government possession, the targeted victims business development of 2006 to 2012, MCIS digital referral system, and the medical professionals communication tool. The direct targeting of the targeted individual, the targeted victim commencing in 2006-2007. I started to notice my own targeting right around that time too. Even though I feel like I've been targeted all my life, but that's for another time. Was witnessed by the targeted victim's close friendship and second cousin at the time, Terry Madison, Port Pirie, in the targeted victim's home, redacted address. Through further consultation of the legal case files, it has been revealed that the targeting of the specific individual, the targeted victim, myself, Jacqueline Pierce, that commenced in Kadena at the age of 14 years of age, also coincides with the exact timing of when the targeted victim redacted like a motherfucker. Redacted like a motherfucker. This is where we get that big black box like throughout the entire thing. Crazy work. Which in turn escalated to criminal network targeting involving multiple individuals involved in a criminal network and including government and police sources, Epstein and Maxwell, and connected to the mother, Cynthia Pierce, and the family members, government sources, John Olson, Kadena, and Rowan Ramsey, Port Pirie, who has been confirmed as connected to a criminal corporation involving Queensland Telco, telecommunications company, and is connected to Port Pirie and involving criminal network targeting and criminal activity in Port Pirie. I am with this report submitting the final completed constructed legal case files as the final submission, and I am informing you that although some of the files in the stages are blank and not complete, those files have been constructed into a different form of pattern or in another file, but all documented evidence in my possession is contained within the constructed legal case files and does not require the blank files to be completed. She said, I am submitting the file, and that's a big black box there. I am seeking your urgent assistance concerning this report, and considering that I am currently and have been for the last 3 years entrapped with the family members in the family home, and I'm endangered in this residence by the perpetrators who commenced this horrendous child abuse crime for a 38-year period and is connected to a sexual abuse ring involving Epstein and Maxwell, who have been convicted for their crimes, but the criminal network and sexual abuse ring that they were connected to and involved in is still operational, involving the sources contained within the evidence submitted, and have not been convicted of this crime or any other crimes committed against community members or society members, and requires immediate and urgent attention and action. Yours sincerely, Jacqueline Pierce. Fuck me. So all of these files that I've got are connected. So all these files I have, all connected. So it turns out the two files that I've got, they're both, it seems like they're just copies. And this mammoth 236 page file, I'm going to get to that in another video, but for now, I've got to digest all this. This is a lot. So I'm going to go. I will see you in another video when I've had a look through this 236 page file, and I'll get to you guys soon. Take care, my fellow TIs. Buckle up. This is going to be rough. It's going to be rough. Anyway, love you guys. Bye-bye.